What's poppin', y'all? Ye recently went in on Travis after Travis Scott made some comments, and there's multiple layers to the story that we'll get into one at a time, starting with Travis Scott's comments. So if you guys remember, a couple of years ago, Ye was talking about, yo, they won't let me see my kids. It's either it was Saint or Chicago's birthday. And then he thanks Travis Scott for being the one that helped get him into the birthday party. So he thanks Travis Scott there. And then fast forward and we get to this year where Travis Scott's been, or not Travis Scott, where Ye has been going on what Ye has been going on. And they ask Travis about Ye. Keep in mind, one of the important things is that Ye said he felt like he put a lot of people on and he feels disrespected when they go against him. An example of that was Ty Dolla $ign. When Ty Dolla $ign says, yo, I don't support that hate. And I think he put up a couple of different fists of different colors. Yo, we love everybody on this side. That was the somewhat of an announcement that he made. And it was clear to distance himself from the things that Ye was saying. This frustrated Ye and said, yo, it's not that you weren't anything, but I provided you a lot of opportunities by linking up with you for Vultures. It wasn't like you were just a writer on Vultures. It wasn't like you were just a producer on Vultures. It wasn't like you were just at the camp and doing your thing, like, for example, like a Consequence or a Rhyme Fest, which no disrespect to those guys. They are instrumental in a lot of legendary Ye music, but they are not, it's not like, oh, Ye and Consequence, Vultures, they're on the cover. Well, Ty Dolla $ign isn't on the cover, but they're not getting that level of visibility. And it's understandable because their skill set isn't leaning towards that. And they're not on most of the songs. So Ty Dolla $ign got as much of a cosign support that he possibly could, launches him into a new era of his career, and he got a lot of opportunities from that. So Academics went on a clip to, and I'm going to summarize the clip. I've played it before. And he basically said, yo, Ye is not saying that people got to cosign what he's doing, but if they're doing interviews, just don't speak badly about him, especially when he gave certain people careers or given them huge opportunities. And then he mentions an instance where Jim Jones got like, I don't know, $1 million or $2 million deal just for introducing these crypto people to Ye. So that's an understandable comment to make. But in a previous video, which I'll have linked in the description, I talk about how hypocritical that is because Ye goes in on Jay-Z's kids. Meanwhile, Jay has never said anything bad publicly about Ye or even distanced himself from Ye. He just hasn't made any comments on it. And this is another example of that. So Travis Scott gets asked about Ye in a Prince interview. And they said, at the very beginning of your career, you met Ye and worked on Cruel Summer with him. Over a decade later, you guys were just hanging out last night at a Grammys party and you still collaborate. How has that relationship evolved over time? This clearly came out later because the Grammys was months ago. And he says, shoot, man, that's my kid's uncle. That guy took me in when I was young, when I was like 19. He taught me a lot about music, and not even just taught me, but he allowed me to experience the creation of music, to create music with him. It's what helped me grow, making a lot of beats, whether it's writing and collabing on music and film or clothes or whatever the F it is, just constantly learning. Now, this is a level of appreciation that you would think Ye would like, especially when it comes to him saying that, yo, he doesn't want people calling him out for what he's saying or doing. Just show love or say whatever Ye says, that's what he says. And I'm riding with him as a friend for what he's done for me, not necessarily co-sign what he's saying. So that's exactly what Travis Scott did here. But what does Ye do? Ye goes in on Travis. So I'm going to play you guys the clip of Ye in a Digital Nas stream going in on him.
I just thought, like I read something about Trav commenting on my comments, and I'm just like, bro, all this idea of like uncle and brother and stuff, this ain't no like actual family. There's no men that have no footing in the situation, and we don't come together and like actually have any control of our kids. It's like we so concerned about being in the industry that we let our kids get indoctrinated to the industry. So it's like when they ask Travis, like, oh man, it's like literally textbook Jewish response, like, oh man, that's my kid's uncle. You're not talking about how I was on the original Future bounce, and then you put Future on it and then have me bounce, and it's just no conversation. Then it's all, we're gonna do some hugs afterwards, and that's why I was like, not gonna take it. There's no more hugs. Like I sat through all of like the entire culture telling me
So here you see in this clip that he mentions Future Bounce, Telekinesis, which turned into Telekinesis with SZA and Kendrick Lamar, which also is under a lawsuit as well. But before we get to Future Bounce and Telekinesis, actually, let's get into Future Bounce and Telekinesis right now. So there's a woman named Victory Boyd who was the person that helped put that song together. There's a lawsuit now. But when it initially came out, she said the following on Instagram. For anyone wondering why my name is associated with the new Travis Scott and SZA song called Telekinesis, this was was a song I penned for Ye. I wrote it as a gospel song. It was originally called Future Bounce. Later it took on the name Future Sounds and then Ultrasounds. It passed through so many different creative minds and has taken on so many different identities. You can still hear little pieces of Jesus in the version that was released today. These are the lyrics that I wrote. Most of it made the final record. And then she puts a bunch of these lyrics. And then she said, this was written for a gospel album. There's a war over the souls of these artists. The song changed because the artist performing the song changed. We got to pray for them to come into the light of Christ. Following it up, the lawsuit happens. And then she says in this caption, it's about reclaiming God's property. Jesus is king. Also, welcome to all the Travis Scott fans harassing me on my posts. May you find something on this journey of trying to tear me down that profoundly impacts your life with the love of God. Jesus loves you so deeply. So I'm going to play you guys this clip where she details the timeline of Future Bounce eventually turning into Telekinesis, and Ye is a part of this.
Suing some of the largest names in music, and here's the story of how come. In 2019, I moved to a cabin in the mountains of Cody, Wyoming on a whim to write music for Ye. I wrote probably 100 songs, and maybe 5 of them have seen the light of day. I gave my very best effort to every individual word, line, and cadence, sometimes spending hours crafting just one line. After a certain point of seeing my carefully crafted work be scrapped and truncated, I decided that I no longer am writing songs for Ye, but rather I'm writing songs for Jesus. I even climbed to the top of this rock and spent a day writing a song to the Lord. With all the same effort and meticulous attention to detail that I put towards creating work that would be pleasing to Ye, I decided to switch my focal point and apply the same effort towards creating works of art that would be pleasing to my Lord Jesus. And once I did that, suddenly I had assurance that my work was not in vain. And even if another soul never heard what I created, I knew that God did, and that He treasured each and every word that I wrote for Him. I wrote a couple versions of a song called Future Bounce. The intention was that this song describes a house party in heaven. When we all make it to heaven, we're going to be doing this dance called the Future Bounce. That was the original idea. Anyways, in November 2019, which was 1 month after finishing and releasing the hit album Jesus is King, of which I wrote lyrics for several of the songs, Ye wanted to immediately create more gospel music, and so I got back to work. I happened to film myself recording a snippet of this version of Future Bounce.
Do you like the way it sounds? Hear the bass playing so loud. Faith in Jesus, I'm sold out. Miracles wash away the doubts. Drumline drops, do you like the way it sounds? Heaven raining down, pouring all over the crowd. All my sins I renounce, 'cause I'm gonna see the future of the bounce. Hear the trumpets playing loud. Faith in Jesus, I'm sold out. Miracles wash away the doubts. He can show up unannounced. Do you like the way it sounds?
It was this later version, however, that I created that Travis Scott stole. I use the term stolen because this is how the dictionary defines the word. Suddenly, 4 years after creating it, I find a distorted version of my work in a song called Telekinesis. 3 times in this song, Travis Scott repeats the chorus that I wrote. Not once did anyone ask me or consider to inquire of my participation in this song. My answer would have been no. I wrote this song for God, and to the extent that Ye was working for God, I was working for Ye. Travis, on the other hand, never had this intent, which you can see when you read the lyrics to Telekinesis. I never would have consented to being associated and to help make a hit song that spreads this message. So they had to steal my work if they wanted to use it, because permission simply would not have been granted. Included in my lawsuit is also Swiss watch company Audemars Piguet, because while they did ask me for permission to use my work in their brand partnership with Travis Scott, I told them no. And in December of 2023, They published my work in collaboration with Travis Scott in a major commercial campaign anyway. A multi-million-dollar partnership. Again, let's go back to the definition of stealing. So now we have all these layers of violations against me from multi-billion-dollar institutions. I said it before and I'll say it again. The story of David and Goliath repeats itself.
So as you guys just heard, for someone to have the right to be able to give it to Travis, it had to be Ye. So Ye had to co-sign on this because she made the song for Ye's gospel album. And he had it on file and he gave it to Travis, which just goes to show this guy's doing Travis a lot of favors. And it seems like multiple tracks on Utopia were from Ye writing camps or Ye album camps. But Ye says, oh, you put Future on it and you had me bounce. Well, you had to co-sign the record because this lady clearly said that it was used without her permission or rights, and there's no way Travis Scott is using it without your permission or co-sign on it. So clearly Travis Scott let you know that, hey, I'm going to put these people on it, or he just asked, can I have this song? And you signed off on it, and then he removed you without you knowing. Now that would be diabolical. I don't think Travis Scott would do that to Ye. I think he would do that to anybody else. I think he understands how valuable his relationship is to Ye and how tight-knit their fan bases are. And if he did that, Travis Scott's fan base wouldn't be too happy about it either. So that's a little bit of a shady thing from Ye's end. I need to know that specific detail to say whether Ye's wrong or right in this situation. But as of now, listen, I've had criticism about Travis Scott. We just talked about Travis Scott and Casey Hill in a previous video where he didn't give her the vocal swap that she asked for. I'll have that linked in the pinned comment as well, if I remember. I'm notorious for forgetting to do that. So he clearly is showing love in that reply, in that interview. And keep in mind, this was post-Grammys, and it released like a couple months later. But even though that it's post-Grammys, Ye was already on this tirade and rant and canceled and whatever else you want to call it from the end of last year. He just went on these rants again recently. And then I will give an example of J. Cole. And this really made me, I made fun of J. Cole a lot, especially over the past year. Called him J. Fold, which I still hold on to that sentiment in that specific moment of time. I really dislike the fact that J. Cole removed the song. Looking back at it now, I wish he just left the song and said, hey man, that's not me. I'm gonna leave. Or I don't even think he has. I think he just basically he cops his plea, and it is what it is. Because Ye was just recently insulting J. Cole. So Ye went on a Twitter rant saying, I hate J. Cole music so much. It's like between Kendrick and J. Cole, I bet you industry plants asked J. Cole to diss Drake. Then we would have been accosted with a J. Cole Super Bowl commercial with no SZA song to save it. No one listens to J. Cole after losing their virginity. When I met up with Drake during Donda, most of the convo was me telling him he was hurting hip-hop by giving J. Cole a platform, and I was saying how much I loved Future. Now this is really, really harmful to dig into J. Cole for, especially J. Cole, somebody that looks up to Ye in production. Like J. Cole produces a lot of his stuff. I think he produced the entirety of 2014 Forest Hills Drive. I'm pretty sure he produces a lot of his other projects as well. And what does J. Cole do on his Dreamville Fest, the 1-year anniversary basically of him copping the plea to Kendrick Lamar? Well, he doesn't take that opportunity to go in on Ye either. And he actually shows him some love. So I'm going to play you guys this clip.
Crack. I was listening to the song. I know niggas feel a way about him right now. But I got love for him, and I really appreciate him. He cleared all these samples for me, and you know what I mean? And when that door cracked, I heard some shit that I had heard for a long time. I had been hearing this shit, but I heard it differently that day. It was like, imagine I'm in the bathroom, but I had the laptop in the hotel room on the bed, and I heard this shit coming from the other room. I said, what the was that? I ran back in the other room, like, yo, what the It's like it spoke to me. I told you, all you gotta do is keep the door cracked. That shit's different on that day, so I ran that back. I was like,
this was such a heartwarming moment, and not for Ye, but for J. Cole. Like, you see the type of man and individual that J. Cole is. Like, J. Cole, he could just not stomp on Kanye or Ye because that would be too obvious. It's too easy right now. Everyone else is jumping on Ye's back. But he could just play the song, or he could just give the story. But he gives like this heartwarming memory of like, hey man, this is how this song came together. And I'm so glad that Ye allowed me to sample this. And I know that people have whatever they have to say about him right now. but he did this solid for me. And Ye is known for clearing samples like Bad Baby. He cleared the Carnival sample for her to diss Alabama Barker. And later on, he said like, hey, I'm not involved in this beef between like Travis Barker. I don't have any issue with him, and I'm not on the track, but I don't like when people play with me with these samples and make it so difficult to clear, so I'll clear it for many artists. And he did that for Cole, and that ended up being that hit song that Cole really needed and his label wanted. And Cole's still showing appreciation and gratitude after Ye went in on him like I just read for you guys. Like, imagine you're Cole and Ye goes in on you like that. Are you, number one, are you thanking him like this on stage? You're probably ishing on him on stage like, man, disrespectful, blah, blah, blah. Or you're trying to say it from a different point of view like, man, I'm so hurt by hearing that from Ye. You know, like he reached out to me before and said he loved my music. And personally, I would I rather listen to J. Cole? I've played more J. Cole than I have Kendrick Lamar. And I'm not saying J. Cole is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar. No. Now, in the past year, I've definitely played more Kendrick Lamar after the J. Fold incident. I couldn't stomach it for a while. But this is consistency in the character of J. Cole. The guy's clearly solid, honorable, appreciative, just a genuine all-around guy. You don't, almost to the level where it feels like he's disrespecting himself sometimes. Like in this situation, I think it's different because him and Ye are not peers. Like Ye's older than him, so it's somewhat of an OG, or like an old elder, so you'll give him more respect or more leeway than you would a peer. But nevertheless, here's another example of what Ye is asking for. You went in, dissed, basically like tossed J. Cole aside, saying that you were trying to block opportunities from him from working with Drake. And here he is saying, yo, people got whatever they got to say about Ye, but he did this for me. And he's giving you a lot of positive press now. Travis Scott didn't say anything about you now. And then you come in like this. And like I said earlier, Academics was the one that said that this is what Ye was feeling. So he brought Ye's thoughts and what Ye told him to us. And he addresses this exact clip and situation with Travis Scott. So I'm going to play you guys that clip right now.
Like, oh, man, you know, it's like literally textbook Jewish response. Like, oh, man, that's my kid's.
Bruh. You know, the good thing about me being muted, I come back with the point very succinctly. Here's what I was just saying about Ye, right? This idea, like I get the family thing. When I'm talking about my uncle or my cousin, I talk about people who are like really integral to my family. Like every important moment of my life, they're there for. I think about them, that we have holidays together. We do things that what family are based on together. I think what Kanye is realizing, and some of this is to Kanye's own detriment. My nigga, you decided to breed with the Kardashian family. There's no way you thought you were going to have cookouts in the back, have extended family outside, and y'all niggas was going to be chit-chatting and like drinking Coronas until 4 a.m. with you and like, no. These are people who, more than family, they protect their brands and they move off of branding more than they move off of emotion. So that's the only thing I can say. And, you know, hopefully once we get part 2, I can get that pushback on him. It's just like, yo, bro, like I completely get what you're saying. When Travis says, yo, that's like my kid's uncle. Like you're saying, dude, how could you say that when they don't even want me to see my own kids? Am I really the uncle to your child? They're giving me a hard time to see my own kids. How effective could I be to your situation? And I completely get that. You know, that's the part of it I get. The only part that I'm always saying, and you know, I asked him about the accountability thing, and he did take accountability. He's like, yo, bro, you seem like you picked all this shit, bro.
So as you just heard, he kind of understands Ye's position from the family perspective, and I get that too, but I've always said this, and I've been not merciless with this, but listen, we knew what it was. Your family knew what it was. Your homies knew what it was. When you decided to go for Kim Kardashian, it was most likely a lustful decision. Ye is a lust maniac, as we're clearly seeing by the recent tweets that he's been putting up as well. What he's been posting, people saying he's pulling up corn adult content in the middle of meetings with Adidas. It's levels of lust that there are not many. Like that Gunnar side situation, that was probably somebody that had Ye Ye beat, but not much else can match up to that. And maybe he doesn't have Ye beat because Ye just has the status to where I guess other people are not going to expose that because they understand what opportunities can come from working with him. That's a possibility too. So the family thing, yeah, like I understand it, but you're just nitpicking here. And academics also, like, he gives him criticism and he's like, yo, I've given some pushback and I want to give pushback on part 2 with the family thing. And I've told him like, hey, this is the situation. But like I said, my question is, especially to academics and to Ye in this situation, here are 2 examples of people, Travis and J. Cole, that have done exactly what you wanted. And you still went in on both of them. So what is it really? It sounds like you just want yes men that are going to co-sign everything you do, put everything that they have at risk just to go behind you for you to potentially switch up in a couple of months. And this is the thing. Ye has, like, no one man should have all that power. I think Ye is drunk on power right now, which I might save for this recent Twitter rant that he's gone on. But Ye has the power to bounce back. A lot of these people do not. They do not have the influence that you have. They do not have the discography that you have. And they do not have the business, for example, to survive being blackballed from a lot of these other partners to sustain the lifestyle that they currently have. So to ask them, or to not to ask them, but to think that they would just follow behind you and destroy everything that they've built when you can survive and come back and people will forgive you, but people won't do that for them, is just levels of ego, selfishness, and self-centeredness that I can't co-sign. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hopefully I put those videos in the pinned comment. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see you on the next one. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Go to helloyassine.com. Thank you for watching. Peace.